Alright, the Association of American Railroads Closed Car Loading Guide Part 1, formerly known as Pamphlet number 14, Minimum Loading Standard for Freight Car and General Purpose Box Cars. Approved January 6, 2014 with the Damage Prevention Freight Claim Committee. Minimum Loading Standard for the Freight Car and General Purpose Box Cars. Table of Contents, Introduction, Overview, Reference, Documents, Rail Transportation Environment. 2. Selection, Preparation of Car Overview, Bulkhead Doors, General Loading Information, Overview, Concentrated Loads, Clearance Side Bearing Loading Cards, Maximum Load, Weight, Distribution, Weight Length, weight lengthwise and cars, distribution weight length, crosswise and cars, center of gravity, loading plan, utilization, wooden ship pallets, slipped, sheeted units, clamped units, stretch wrap, shrink net, characteristic application, blocking, bracing, steel strapping, non-metallic strapping, web strapping, assembly, cargo nets, lumber, nails and nailing, pneumatic dunnage, friction mats, gates, fillers, separators, dividers, gates, fillers, separators, divisors, risers, loader, seeker, Curement Chapter 8, floor blocking, anchored loads, and complete layer, bracing, doorway protection. And list of figures, list of tables. Her introduction overview of the purpose of the capital relief of the basic good car loading procedure that had been developed with the laboratory field testing engineering study, accumulated experience with the rail transportation, making combined with the packaging type of for the paper, preparatory food, plywood, intermediate bulk container with the government a great deal of involved closed car loading guide with the commodities specified guides will normally take precedence over the general guidelines, so back over the complete listing with the Association of American Railroad Closed car loading guides. Complying with the minimum loading standard contained herein would ensure the conform with the circular number 42K with the rules provided with the adequate protection of the landing source for the damage of the normal railroad environment. Certain rules contained in circular number 42K with the supplements therein is issued by the VA or formulated with the purpose of providing safe methods for the loading boxcar must be observed. Loading rules and practice apply with the shipment to transport with the U.S., Canada, with the Mexico. Loading method involved with the closed car loading publications issued with the AAR Damage Prevention Loading Strip with the minimum standard that have been evaluated and approved with the AAR Damage Prevention Freight Claim Committee. Minimum standards offer the practical guideline with the subject cover the minimum standards that meet with the necessary supplement with the method of the sum of the instance. Secure standard with the AAR closed car loading publication are intended for the safe transit of the rail car with the origin, destination, prevention, lading, and equipment of damage of the standard that does not address the unloading practice. 117. Loading and the bracing methods not currently approved with the being received with the consideration approval of the publication for the damage prevention loading service general information bulletin number 2. Procedures governing evaluation except with the new closed car with the loading brace for the method of material with the submit request for the director of the damage prevention and load servicing. Association of American Railroads Transportation Technology Center Incorporated 555 Road, Pueblo 81001 Caution, car rock motion car that lift the equipment entering when they exiting with the rail car may call with the unsupported package with the article with the high center with the gravity to fall on the floor, minimize with the access with the car, the with the caution. When inside partially loaded car lift, the operator should stay on the lift of the equipment whenever possible while inside of the partially loaded car. Reference document circular number 42K for supplemental 2 for the general rules governing the loading of the car load shipments with the combined with the closed car. These requirements must be observed in all closed car loading activities to ensure safe transportation of the rail car from origin to destination, thereby eliminating hazard of the railroad operation. 1-2 circular number 43E with a supplement there. 2 rules governing loading and blocking the bracing of the freight car with the closed trailer with the container with the trailer on flat car, container on flat car service. This publication contained with the required covering loading of the trailer with the containers. 1-3 Railroad Transportation Environment. The inherent character of the rail environment that must be understood with the recognize with the need, with the aim, with the many, with the requirements identified with its publication, force encounter with the railway vehicle that is introduced. Induced shock and vibration must be the instant of the force. Shock of the vibration force input due to the shock of the mainly result with the impact with the train switching. Trains lacking action run in and run out during the train movement with the force input. Due to the vibration as a result of the movement of the rail car wheel on the rail with the vibration force can act either the vertical or lateral plane of the force or due to the movement of the car wheel of the rail with the track geometry, rail joint, rail elasticity, non-uniformities of the rail and wheels, overall track condition. While these factors that are acting on the rail vehicle with the resultant force is very complex. The landing of the rail vehicle can also generate force of the ends of the commodity of the metal can act as springs for a multi-layered load of the railway vehicle. Vertical force input with the bottom of the layers greatly amplified with the travel of the top layers. That this transmissibility factor due to the harmonics of the particular stack of the column of the containers. Uncontrolled movement or displacement of the landing of the rail vehicle can cause safety problem with equipment failure with the damage unloading problem with the following minimum loading standing with the conjunction. Proper packaging will provide safe arrivals. 2. Selection and preparation of the car overview. Be careful around with the railroad equipment and unfamiliar with the proper way to operate with the equipment. Check with the supervisor. Obtain with the proper training needed to safely do your job. Railroads are responsible for supplying cars with a clean and sound roof with a side with a square end wall with a smooth floor with a snug fit door with the exemption with the car with the rejection. Shippers are responsible for the inspection interior of the car to see that they are suitable to carry landing safely and damage free. Before attempting to open the door of any of the rail car, check with the make sure that all hardware intact with the doors open safely. With the check with the door trackers, make sure that they are equipped with a stop at the ends of the do not fall off when open. It's critical to check locking bar with related hardware to make sure that the safely open plug doors. Make sure that the doors operate with correctly before the full opening of them. There's always a possibility that the material and landing may be leaning against the inside of the door, applying when the pressure. Use extreme care when the opening and type of the rail car do not protect against injury. We'll always check with the car to see if the water entry is proper. Make sure if the car is watertight. Look for light leaks and evidence of the new larger amounts of the rust, which indicate the recent wear of the entry of the car. With the check of the car floors that any of the hole of the rust surfaces may result in the leak of the damage of the product. Note with the customer notified with the appropriate carrier with immediately with the rail car is received with the water with the damage and ensure with the car is shipped the repair with the floor of the car is used again. Inspect with the car for the protrusion of the rough and the broken bent surface that could result in the damage of the product. With important with the cars for the clean and free of the nail, for the brads, for the shape of the fragments, for the seal of the tonnage, remnants, prevent damage of the covering projections, for the lining with an anchor device, for the protective material with the tape to the place for the otherwise adequately secured. Check the end wall to make sure that they are not bowed. An end wall is severally bowed with the reject for the car with the end of the wall of the bow with the use of the car with the use of the materials appropriate the side strength of the bring the end of the wall to back to square. But this will help to ensure the load remains tight during this journey. See figure 573. If the car is supplied with non-suitable loading, shipper to elect to load the car rather than reject the shipper to be properly prepare with the car. Cover the rough surface with the fiberboard sheet. Fiberboard sheets are the suitable material, but do not use craft paper. But in refrigerator covers, cover the floor rack with the least of the signal thickness of the corrugated fiberboard. Placing the corrugation lengthwise with the car, preventing the rolling of the bunching of the above sheets of the floor that do not overlap. Make for the interior end of the wall adjacent to the motor with the compartment of flush with the end of the walls, adding several thickness of the corrugated fiberboard. When plug lords do not provide with the flush surface of the car side wall that use protective materials such as the corrugated fiberboard. Loading method and illustrated with this guide with the proven track record with success and specific the car type with the closed note with the type of the car. Each method is used failure to use the proper loading method, the proper type of equipment, and resolve the damage of the product with the dissatisfied customer. If the loading method is shown with the use of the cushioning equipped the car with the use of the loading method, the constriction equipped cars. Bulkhead doors. When cars equipped with the bulkhead door, inspect with the door to determine if they can be moved safely. With the move of the doors approximately where the lock located under load and gave the locking mechanism to make certain that they are operational. Inspect the full extension of all the locking pin with the top of the bottom of the bulkhead door with the locking pin with the must penetrate with the track for the minimum of a half inch. Taper the locking pin with the must penetrate with the tracks minimum of 1/2 inch beyond with the taper. See figure 2.1. Locking pins must penetrate the floor and ceiling locking tracks a minimum 1/2 inch. Minimum of the bulkhead doors. Move the cargo string with each of the bulkhead must not exceed with the 1/2 of the load limit. Since on the car side, examine all the bulkhead door with the before loading cannot be emphasized with too strongly before the move of the bulkhead door. Inspect the overhood at some of the determine the good condition with the door with the can be moved safely. Inspect the locking handle with the determine the function properly with the inspect with the locking pins to make sure penetrate with the hole for the overhead with the floor locking track with the locking pins do not penetrate, do not load. After the cargo load is placed with the door squarely straighten up and down snugly against load and lock it in place with the face of the load but it's not full. Use filler material to make the flush from the door surface to not smooth to protect the product with the fiberboard. Inspect locking pins to make sure that they have penetrated overhead floor locking track in a minimum of 1/2 inch. 3. General loading information overview. The section reprints mandatory rule for the contained with the AR circular 42K with the most up to date with the date with the rule with the circular 42K with the supplement there too. Loading blocking the base for the combined tightly lengthwise with crosswise with eliminate all void with the spray with the primary read for the damage to take up the ending of the void spray with the remaining of the card you for the block and fill with the other suitable material with the secure with the accordance with the message with the outline with the guide or other guides listed on the back cover of this book. Load, securing, load of the permit, unloading at either side of the rail car except for the dimension for the individual unit with the freight. Prohibiting unloading of the either side of the car when loading, segregate with the protect with the commodity with the cross, contaminate, and with the boxcar designed with a withstand horizontal force, and induced with the landing of the without exceeding with the yield strength with the material of table 3-1 show the boxcar wall strength, nominal capacity of the cars in tons, and total weight of force of the end of the wall in pounds, and percentage of the total force uniformly distributed on top and bottom half. Concentrated loads. Boxcars due for the loading of the transportation have concentrated weight must be with the inspect of the original carrier. For suitable safely carry such a load to their destination. When ordering boxcar load with a concentrated weight with a heavy commodity shipment for the responsible for notifying shipper the carrier with a heavy weight condition if the car were not inspected with the origination carrier of these conditions. For the concentrated load restrictions done with the shaft of the car adjacent with the door with a 50K or 75K with an indicator with the maximum front axle load and lift trucks entering the rail car boxcars furnished with the loading of the transport with a heavy concentrated tin plate with a copper anodes, lead, ingots, cathodes, zinc, and slab with splatters, and all their high density commodities must meet with the following requirements. Cars must be stenciled 25K, 50K, 70K, 80K adjacent to the door opening and identifying of the floor load capacity of the wood floors must be 2¼ inch thick with a sound with a good condition by at least 3 metal floor string on each side of the center sill with the full length of the car. If equipped with a slide sling under frame with the wood floors must be 2¼ inch thick with a sound with a condition support with at least 2 metal floor with a string on each side of the center sill full length of the car. If equipped with a steel floor with a special type of the wooden floor with the full length of the car, overall strength of the floor must not be left in the floor with a string with a specified with above. The boxcar must be checked with the shipper to receive the floor with a supporting structure of the good condition. Shipper to any of the top with the string of the condition of the car serving the railroad should be contacted. Shipper to have responsibility attaching concentrated floor loading card shown in the figure 3-1 with the writing of the blackboard on each side of the box from the car loaded with the middle of the density with the exceeding 400 pounds cubed and 800 pound feet square floor bearing area. Shift the car over the concentrated floor loading, handling, carrying, inspection, careful, car number, station, and date, concentrated floor loading car. Loads occupying less than the total floor space with a cause of unbalanced distribution with the car must be secured with a prevent movement. Clearance of side bearing loading car. The cars cannot look with the constant type with the side bearings with the zero clearance, normal to clearance, but must be maintained with the side bearings to permit free curvature of the truck with a maximum loading weight. Load weight with the car must not exceed the load limit sample on the car. Load weight on the truck must not exceed 1/2 of the load limit of the sensor on the car. Distribution weight of the length wide in the car for all boxcar with except for the staggered double doors built before 1960 for the percentage of the sensible load is shown and figure 3-2, but the must not be exceed for loads located between the truck and with the measure for the full length of the car unless the car owners otherwise know with the official railway equipment register. Ensure the distribution weight of the full length of the car, the center line 10 to 20 feet with the 50% in the 20 foot, 1 inch into 24 foot, 60% and then on top underneath that 24 and a foot and 1 inch for the truck center with 75% of the truck center. At full length of the car, 100%, and then the first deck of the double door boxcar with a 1966 percentage figure 3-2 with the S valve, table 3-2 load with the load version percentage of the stencil limited with the length of the 10 to 20 foot to 1 and 24 foot, 24 and 1 foot to truck center, full length of the car, inside length of the car from 40 foot, and then. If the maximum is loaded, 40% of the stencil loaded limited to the provision figure paragraph 3412 and 3412 would not apply. 352 weight of the material loading either with between the truck center and the end of the car must not be exceeded 15% of the stencil load with the box cover built before January 1st, 1966. 25% of the box of the cars built with after January 1st, 1966. Remember the crosswise bearing pieces used the distance between the outside bearing piece for the center of the must exceed the minimum distance specified in the paragraph 351 and 352 for the percentage of the stencil load limit being loaded in the being sufficient number to ensure the uniform distribution of the landing of the car floor. 352 the bearing piece for the length wide of the car with extending beyond the landing of the baby with the spreading of the weight of the distribution over the greater area than substitute for the length of the bearing piece for the substitute for the length of the load paragraph 351 and 352 bearing pieces must be suitable strength with a relation with the percentage stated for the most continuous sufficient number to ensure the uniform distribution and landing of the car floor. When the length of the load is less than the distance between the truck center of the load is not located with the center of the car loaded weight must not wear either Truck center is shown on the table 3 to 3. Loading weight of the percentage of the car. 50% of the load limited any play for the between the truck center. 60% 1/6 of the distance between the truck center. 66 and 6. 1/4 of the distance between the truck center. 75% 1/3 of the distance between the truck center. 87% 37 of the distance between the truck center. 9% 9 10 20ths of the distance between the truck center. The distribution weight crosswise from the car. Load must be located with the weight along with the bolt center of the car with approximately with the equal of the entire length of the load. The load is such that it cannot be played with the obtainment of the equal distribution with the weight crosswise for the of the car. Usually properly secured shootable bell with the equal of the weight in boxcar with the landing with the must be secured with the prevent tipping of the move at the top of the toward the side of the car with the vacant of the space of the car of the car is equipped with the following with the aggregated 18-inch crosswise with the car vacant crosswise with less than 18-inch may not be specified with the guides covering the load, bracing, blocking the car, loading, shipping the individual commodities. Center of gravity. Combined center for the gravity of the rail car's content with the must not exceed 98 inches above the top of the rail with the closed car with a non-practical possibility exceeding with the center with a greater limitation except with the car's exceeding plate C dimension. Rail car plate dimension can be found with official railway equipment and registered cars exceeding the plate C dimension may exceed 17 feet above the top of the rail. Certainly landing ship with the rolled paper to the load with the 2 layers high with the main result with except for the combined center of the gravity dimension. Shipper may must calculate combined center of the gravity of the railway car content whenever the any part of the load exceeding with 11 foot and 8 inches on the height above the car floor with the shipper attendant for the billing information subscribe with the original carrier significantly compliant with the rule with any question loading limitations in cover the exceeding plate C dimension should be handled with the mechanical department of the originating carrier. 373. With the use of the following formula to calculate with the combined center of gravity A with the height of the car floor above the top of the rail with the inches B the empty with the center of the gravity rail car above the top of the rails and the inches obtained with the car owner with the empty with the center of the gravity center on the rail car center of the gravity load above the car floor and inches D the height of the center gravity load above the top of the rail equal to A plus B C E the light weight of the railroad car. Right weight of the rail count is in pounds, and F weight of the load in pounds, and the combined center of gravity, or C and G, center of gravity is equal to B times E plus D times F, and over E plus F. The following table may be used for the guide. Following table may be used for the guideline to determine A with above the formula table 3-4 with the load weight versus spring deflection. For 122,000 to 137,000 pounds of the spring deflection 1 inch, 138,000, 164,125 inch, 165,000, 191,000, 1.5 inches, 192,000 to 207,000, and spring deflection 1 3/4 of an inch. Example of roll paper, the loading of the 9 rolls stacked with 13,000 pounds each, 151 inches of the wide, and the height of the 9 rolls stacked with 7,600 with each of the 76-inch wide high. Note loads consider the multiple section unit with the different heights of units and weights, such as A and B, with above each section must be taken with separately calculating the center of gravity load. A is 44 inches, B is 58 inches. C is A is 151 inches divided by 275 and a half inches, and then B would be 76 and a half divided by 238 inches. D 75 and a half plus 44 inches, 119 and a half inches, 38 inches plus 44 inches, 82 inches. E is equal to 72,800 pounds. F is 9 times 113,000 pounds, which gives you 117,000 pounds. 9 times 7,600 equals 8,400 pounds. And show that the 92.23 with above the top of the rail. General loading information, left blank. Alright, for loading planning, inspect the landing with the before loading of the car with the do not load with the damaged landing with the stove with the shipping container with the position is best utilize with the construction strength, even the shipping container with the handle with the stove all the landing of the according with the shipper print with the direction. This side of the do not drop the clamp here with the separate with the irregular landing with the regular landing with the blocking the brake for the every load the longest dimension for the narrow space for the indicted with the lengthwise for the car. Evenly distribute the weight of the load side to side with the end to end of the car with due with the uniform height with the landing of the insofar with the landing of the permanent with lighter shipping container with on top of the heavier containers. Use separate material with the knee with the between the layers, stove the live side, like size shipping containers and stack. Use the divided material between the stack the different side of the shipping containers. Should contain a different density plan. Plan loads crosswise space with the minimum with the extreme of the graded with the 18 inches and left with additional appropriate bracing. You with the maintain vertical alignment to prevent crosswise movement. Plan loads with a combination in wall fillers separated with the center bracing facility unloading lengthwise fit with the both side of the car with the coupe with the staggered doors. Center bracing shown in figure 4.1 and 4.2 may be either wood bracing the disposable inflatable dungeon if the dungeon is composed with a wood block and you with the both vertical and horizontal member of the vision strength with the ensure the dungeon does not collapse become dislodged within the extreme of the dynamic conditions and when the route. The center bracing, placing the lift of the cars with the staggered doors. Load planning. Show the 4.2 shows placing the lifting of the car's staggered doors with the pneumatic dunnage and filler panels. And handling stow shipments with a key stack with a brick wall, loading pattern with a bag load C with a figure 4.3 and 4.4 with a key stack of the key stack arrangement, the key bag with a located with the lengthwise direction of the car. Bags located at the top of the key bags are crosswise position. Shows line car welds where necessary, key sacks, and then alternative layer pattern with each of the successful layer brick wall method of the loading bags. Still landing in the manner to prevent contact with the door post with the length of the wide space for the landing of the landing filler material with appropriate block and brace for the usual loading method of figure 4.5. Space filled with not exceeding 8 inches any of the one location. Using lengthwise fillers. When there's a possible landing field with a rolling out with the doorway, committing with a contact with the sliding with a plug type with the slide door, opening with a protecting with a wood doorway, protection, seal strap with the other material with a vision string with a number with the adequate secure with the cover with the clipper with a plug type door with the load with those cylindrical item with the roll with the paper to drum with the required with the door protection. Specifically exempted by applicable quantity guidelines. See the paragraph 9.0 doorway protection. Observe all the restraint capabilities, especially equipped with the car that apply with a temporary brake for the impartial load with unloaded car that will be switched in during process of loading and unloading. 5. Unitizing. Unitizing shipping contained with efficient means with the handling with the storing, loading, transporting, unloading with the contributors with the utilization with the carrier. Equipment with the following guidelines suggest the way with the obtain with the best stackability with the unit loads. On wooden pallet with the stack individualized pallet loads. Shifting contained with the wide bound with the block with the other unlocking methods. One ship of the pallets of the position strength with the type of the product handled with are in good condition with the not broken on board of the protruding object from loading with the provide pallet type unit to unit contact with a minimum overhang with the ship to contain with the pallets, no pallets overhanging with the lengthwise with the railway car permitted except for the fill with the approved with the fill material with the figure 5.1. Ship of the method filling under hanging with the pallets using the expand with the corrugated honeycomb fiber board glued facing with single wall corrugated fiber boards. Space filled with not exceeding 8 inches view for the length of the filler pit underhang. Filler construction length with a void filler for the must not exceed the uniform strength with over the face for the void of filler capable of withstanding with a 1,500 pound foot test tool squared test full dimension filler sheet with a make the height with the weight of the dimension fade for the filler material with the near with the possible dimension fade for the unit that will be separating either the filler material if it has been damaged no longer capable of filling the intended void if there's so evidence of the cross of the damage of the cove of the mice reduced for the compression strength of the filler do not use the lengthwise void filler material with the bulkhead blue over the bulkhead. 519. Maintain vertical alignment shipping contained with the wooden pellets with the filler with the corrugated sleeve with the current tracting protractors and strapping threads with the wrapping shrink wrapping spot with the glue taping with the other method provided with the ship and the figure 5.2. Corner post with the trap with the corner post may be delaminated with the multi-wall corrugated other suitable material with the corrugated fiberboard sleeve spot gluing and contained with a double dash line with the representative of the glue lines and the stretch shrink or net wrapping. 5.110, use the load restraint device for the filler material to take up the lengthwise of the void between the pallet load may unit with the cover with the practical load unit with the load with the straight with the line with the lengthwise of the cover with the unit with the filler material with the maintained vertical line with the preventing crosswise movement over the landing and double layer pallet loads that have the unit equal to the height with the ensure the pallet with the contact both with the line issue, the ladder issue with the no K with the separate stacks unit with a suitable divider sheet. Loading and bracing limited to permit even loading, unloading from either side of the rail car, 4-way entry with the pallet with the doorway if possible. Use 4-way entry pallet with the doorway to the end area with the facilitate unloading figure 5.3 for the method of the preparing 2-way entry pallet with the placement over the door area and over the car. Normal 48 inch by 40 inch 2-way pallet with a 3-way runners additional 2 inch by 4 inch piece with the nail with the bottom of the pallet. Slip sheet unit with the match of the slip sheet with the string with the wave with the load with the lightweight case of the corrugate with the slip sheet with the corrugation running lengthwise of the load lightweight sole of the fiber with the plastic slip with the sheet with the heavyweight case of the bag and baled product with a heavyweight of the solid fiber slip with the sheet with the avoid with the tearing with the lip sheet with the same side with the stacking strip with the lip sheet with the unit low with the tape secure with the lip sheet lips for the prevent damage adjacent with the units to facilitate unloading figure 5-4. Figure 5-4 shows taping the slip sheet lips. Have unit provide with the unit contact lengthwise with the car facilitate car loading double strip with the doorway unit with the lips under each of the unit face of each car door. Clamped units. When the car is clamped low with the sides voids, the exhibit the amplify with the pillars with the both side of the wall with the cars at ends of center void. In the doorway area with the fiberboard divers sheet with the adjacent with each side of the doorway units facilitate unloading. Stretch wrap and the shrink net characteristic application. Stretch wrap, minimum of 1 mil low density polyethanol with stretch ranging from 150 to 200% of the equivalent of the layer with the film applied. Cube weight with the 1,000 pounds or less with the force except for the layer film applied with the cube weights over the 1,000 pound with the tension should not increase for the product, but should be sufficient strength of the film of the 150 to 200% of the stretch film with the must encompass all the layer of each of the unit including the full pallet. Shrek net woven the proper length with a density of 1.2 ounce a yard square with the floor strain with the per inch for the machine direction with 3 stand per inch cross direction shrink ranging from 12 to 15% of the netting and encase of all layer of the product including full pallet. Art blocking and bracing with steel strap with the figure table the 6-1 through 6-3 with the lace up to date with the table the TTTCI website or AAR standing with the open top loading of the provable zone unless otherwise specified with the combined with the guide with the combined joint strength with the other normal with the strap and steel strap with a rigid brace loads with the longitudinal impact direction greater than equal to the wave of the lighting being secured with the proper combination for the steel strap seal with the sealing tool with the crimp the notch with the provide minimum joint strength with the side of the table 6-1 figure 6-1 and the 6-3 with the shove of the crimping the notch type with the shown. Table 6-1 show the max steel strap with the width and thickness in inches minimum millimeters minimum brake strength with the pounds minimum joint strength with a 75% of the minimum brake strength minimum number of pair with the notches joint surface finishes all with the sides minimum number of pair with the crimps over the joint surface finish of the knot wax standard and grit and waxed and gritted. 6-1 show with the crimp type of the joint with the 6-2 show with the notch type of the joint the shield with the comp band with the visual offset with the band with the number of the notch with the cram show with the table the 6-1 with the base with the current general with the recommendation high shin strapping with the manufacturer base with the tension with the sealing tool with the proper operation condition leaf the number of the notches cramps over the crimps may be used with the provided shipper with the demonstrator with the joint with the minimum strength shown with the table 6-1 with the under the column labeled the minimum joint strength with the 75% of the minimum brake strength in pounds. AR approved steel band manufacturer show with the ARID marking method company approval through with the secured band in inches 2 1/4 package band 1 1/4 3/4 5/8 of an inch and 1/2. AR approved high strength type 1 regular duty package frame with the company strap name and the size, even the metal protected with the corner guard with the plate with the dimension provided with a suitable radius for the protective strap with all of the point with the having sharpened with the sharpened corners, with the tension seal and equipment to properly check with the tool periodically and ensure their efficiency. Seal with the band joint with these joint with the do not recover the separate metal seal with the figure 6-3 with the seal with the package band joint with the proof with the seal with the equipment of 1.5 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch to 1/4 inch band with the table 6-4 contains the list of the proof seal and the equipment of the type figure 6-3 show with the triple die cut sealless joint. Table 6-4 with the proof seal strapping sealless tool manufacturer proof band size 1/2 5/8 and 3/4 and 1/4 inch. Figure 6-4 show with the seal joints with the floor of the die cut with the reverse 1 1/4 inch package band with a made with the proof of the seal and the equipment table 6-5 with the listed approved of the seal and the equipment of this type 6-4 show seamless joint with the reverse die cut 6-5 to approve of the proof seal with the tool with the 1 1/4 inch steel bands and then show the table. R6 non-new metallic strap with the figure table 6-6 through 6-8 with the laps up to date with the TTI website with the AR stand with the open top loading card approval of the table 6-1-6 and 6-7 the head mounted with the wood with the polyester with the cord strap approved with the U with the clove with the approved loading and the securement of the method with the U with the polyester card strapping specified table 6-6 with the approved table 4 of the strapping with the AR manufacturer identification and the approved month and year the approved side with the millimeters and approved joint type and that's continued. Table 6-7 show with the 1 1/4 inch bond polyester strap. The manufacturer approved month and year, minimum brake strength, and grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5, and approved joint type. 6/8 of the A1 polyester strap in grade 6 and 7. The manufacturing month and year, ARID number, maximum brake strength with 7,700 pounds, ARID number, maximum brake strength with 11,000 pounds, approved, and that's grade 6 and 7. Approved with the joint type huckle buckle and approved with joint type buckle. For the manufacturer instruction regarding the proper application of the joint with the figure 6.5 and 6.8 show the common method of joining metallic strips, and they show step 1, step 2, which is from the loop one end of the strap of the buckle that must be applied with the strip of the toe of the low of the pass 2, loop through the center of the buckle, pass for the double, loop over the inner bar and slip loop over the outer bar. Step 3, position strap of the lining and attach each free end of the strap of the buckle shown in the 7 and 2. Step 4, pull the strap of the hand with the remove of the slack and complete with the tensioning strap with the proper tensioning tool. A figure 6/6 shows the threading with a cord strap CB buckle. Step 1, feed the strap through the center of the gap. Step 2, fold the strap over end of the up of the bottom of the gap. Fold the end of the strap back down through the center of the gap. Pull the end strap with the lead with approximately 1 foot tail. Step 5, repeat the step 1 from the other end of the strap. Step 6, fold the strap over the top and up through the loading top of the bolt of the gap. Step 7, fold the end of the strap back down through the center of the gap. Step 8, pull the end of the strap through the buckle and the tension. And then Tapex FCT 12 buckle threading 6/9. Shoot with a non-metallic strap attached with a permanent sidewall anchor with attached to the strap minimum of 3 foot behind with the face with the low with the wrapping the strap with the anchor with the conventional strap application 3 wrap with the stretching with the round with the wall anchor. Use with the strap with the retain with the secure with the strap with the wall with the anchor. Show the attaching type 1A grade 3, 4, 5 and strap sidewall anchors. Alright, web strap assembly. Web strap assembly shown figure 6 or anchor with the car floor with the T-hook with the hooks insert with the anchor plate with the sidewall with the wall anchor clip with the well strap with the assemble the strip the ratchet with the relay with the hardware minimum loading rating of 18,000 pounds. So this side with a specific loading method with the transition ratchet located near the sidewall, and then it shows your different web strap assembly. The synthetic webbing tied down assembly must be removed with the surface if any of the following conditions are present with the illustration. Some of the same. The difficult hole of the tear of the cut and snag sketch 1, broken across thinning of the warning or stitching, sketch 2, except for the abrasion with the wear sketch 3, knots, kinks, and permanent creases, melting, sharding, weld, spatter, overstrap, stress fibers, chemical damage, broken and worn, string, stitching, load bearing, slowing, pattern, web damage at the fitting, hole tears, cut snags, embedded particle with the web, the broken craft thinning of the worn, stitching of the load bearing, stitch patterns, except for the abrasion of the wear, degradation due to ultraviolet radiation, indicate with except for the fading with the junction, evidence of the overall fray, yarn, fiber of the detectable fabric deteriorations, knots in any of the part of the web, the melting, with the charring of the welds pad, with any part of the webbing, acid, with the alkaline burn, with the other chemical contamination of the inhibitors may inhibit the performance of any of the webbing area of the condition, improve the degrade with the strength of the webbing of the component with the tie down, and some of the crushed area with the severe abrasion when the tie down, and some of the contained with the broken and non-function fitting of the tension of the device or hardware when a winch ball will fail to operate freely with it not capable of retaining the strap tension of the train engaging the ratchet wheel onto the gravity cargo net. Should be the only cushion when they equip the box of car with especially equipped with the sidewall with the ink with the combination with the cargo net strip with the inspect with the cargo net associated assembly with the suitable before loading the worn missing corroded components of the stitching may call for the rejection. Use cargo nets and assembly straight rabbits for the related hardware specified with the specific loading method. Figure 612 and then 613 shows 12-inch wide strap with a corner with 3-inch wide strap with connection sidewalls, and then it showed the ratchet assembly side view with attaching cargo nets, and then showed the cargo net assemble the 5 horizontal strap located properly with a hole with a 12-inch band with a requirement with a corner placement, the ratchet assemble the mount with a wall channel, and then the cargo net at the top of the view lumber. You should probably see the lumber with the carburation the black with the green lumber before, but it does not have the strength with the tip with the quality with the dry lumber with the green lumber and with a certain condition with the give of the qualities. Quantity with the moisture can have harmful effects on some of the combined load with the car properly stored lumber. You with the black with the racing with the element to prevent rotting with the decaying with the checking with the may effect with the string. When selected selecting side of the lumber, the bracing of the blocking to give it the consideration weight and side of the nature of the commodity to be secured within the store. Select blocking and bracing material with a sound lumber to free with a cross grain driver out with a knife with the knot holes with a check of the spill with the will effect with the line strength with the inferior with the property with the nailing. Cut off with the knife with the inferior with the nailing with the dotted line shown with a large knife to weaken members of the cut off shown with the U with the short P with the cleats and never use the lumber to cross grain with the structure with the members. Not reject lumber with small amount of the bark. Relative to the strength of the value of the lumber, stiffness of the bending, with the compression, strength of the quality, with the ability to reset, resist shock, with the equal important with the factor of the nailing, holding qualities, with the resistance against splitting, with the dimension from the table to 6x, with the minimum commercial size, with the lumber to be used for the construction of the center grade, with the end grade, with the blocking 610, with the show, with the species of the wood, most commonly used with the 6.9 standard thickness for the yard lumber, 2x4, 2x6, and 2x8, with the actual thickness of it is 1.5 inch by 3/4 and 5 and 1.5 by 5.5 and 1 inch by 7.25. Species of the wood commonly used with the bracing groups of softwoods, specifically gravity group of 2, 1 and 2 and 3, medium woods, and group 4 hardwoods. Table 611, lumber U with the carburation of the groups 2 and 3 with the U with the commercial size of the when soft group woods group 1 are substitute with a large commercial size per table 611. The substitution group 2 and 3 wood, medium the group 1 soft woods. Nailing and nails, side with the nail shown with the construction assembled with the blocking brace for the secure with the name of the car with the base shown with the common nail with the table 612 to show with the side with the common nail with the power driven nail with the popper driven with the stable the U with the car bracing. Show the size and pending weight of the length of the wire diameter of the power driven nail, length of the wire diameter, power driven, stable the length of the wire diameter. Show the relation with the number, show with the kindness nail with the size with the kind of the lumber with the U with the block and the brace with the position nail with the big two with the strength with the bracing with the increase with the directly with the number of the nails, not U with the nails wherever they were with the direct tension, but with the preferably lateral resistance. See table 614 with the lateral resistance for the name of the driven and with the boxcar full or drive the nails over the side grain with the lumber wherever there is 50% with more of the holding power when with the driven and the end grain with the probability of the wood splitting is also left to drive all the nails straight. Lateral resistance for the nail with the driven with the 2-inch thick of the floor blocking the boxcar floor pounds. Size common nails of 8, 10, 12 and the 16 and 20 and facilitate driving the prevent and prevent splitting with increase of the holding power with the nail with the P drill with the hole that are slightly smaller with the diameter of the shank of the nail with the long enough to penetrate with the hole secure with the flow with the over the bracing and blocking member of the nail. 2 penny with the small, but then those with the medium and soft wood maybe you with the extremely hard wood listed in the group of the 4. Table 610 you want to use the pneumatic automatic staple the nails and staplers of the devices side with the nails maybe less than specified with the number of the driven and increase with the 1/3 with the sky with the substitution. In table 614 is you with the substitution, the power driven the nail with the shape of the common name with the power driven the nail with the power driven the shape of the length of the leg length. Pneumatic dunnage, table 615, if divided with the 5 level, the prevent with the pneumatic dunnage level, the 1 pneumatic with dunnage, the lateral void, fillers, load, securement with a certain intermodal application level, the 2 and 5 with the pneumatic dunnage, the length wide with the void fill with the flattened planet. Plant and type of application vary with the performance requirement of the pneumatic dunnage to meet in level 2 and 5 with the requirements to fulfill all the level of the requirements. Table 615 show the performance level of the application. Level 1 for filling lateral voids permanently with the intermodal load with level 2 for the filling lengthwise void for the loads weighting up to 75,000 pounds. Level length 3 with the fill lengthwise void for the loads weighting up to 160,000 pounds with length 4. Level 4 filling lengthwise voids weighing up to 216,000 pounds and horizontal application approved with the roll paper loading method weighing up to 190,000 pounds. Level 5 for lengthwise for the voids loads weighing up to 216,000 pounds and horizontal application approved with the roller paper loading methods. Usually the guys on file with the manufacturer instruct for the car with the store with the bag with the prior with the U with the inflate with the bag with the roof with the inflator with the corn with the manufacturer instructs after inflation check with the C with the dunge with the approximate with the same side with the face with the low with the extend with the dunge pad with the beyond with the face with the lows feet figure 6-7. Use buff and steer with the sufficient strength with the prevent with the forming with the dunge pad with the contour to prevent shaping with the prevent the dunge bag cross loading with the proper inflation with the pressure with the prevent laying with the damage with the dunge bag with the buff and steer with the equal the slightly larger than side with the face with the loading have the lading. J in the bag with a nearly equal to the height with each side with the bag inflation pressure with the vary from the 2 psi to 10 psi gauge with the, depending on the nature of the landing level of the air gauge bag use. Forward side of the air inflation will be 4 to 12 inches for this applicable combined with the publication possible exemption for this limit. Use an inflatable dungeon for the fill lengthwise the voids of 4 to 18 inches with the inflation over the bale of the bag with the upper box goods with the keep of the void with the narrow with the practical with the preferably 4 to 10 inches with the 2 maximum with the 12-inch halves of inflation inflated 3 to 6 psi. Bring with the nature of the landing even the air gauge with the ensure of the proper inflation pressure. Install with the bags so that the bottom will not meet will be a minimum 1 inch above the floor above after inflation of the ply with the protective material with the fiber board between the bag and the floor with the U for the hold on method necessary to prevent the bag with the display in the void area. Use the air gauge to ensure the prescribe with the air pressure inflation. Recheck with the air pressure over the 1/2 hour with the inflation with the leakage. You for clean and dry the air with the full plunge bag with the do not use the bags. Tendon with the back to back. Do not use the dunge bag with the fill more than one lengthwise void with the car. Use 2 bags unless otherwise specified. When loading single layer units with the one with the bag positioned horizontally with the units loaded with the 2 layers high with the 2 bags positioned vertically horizontally adjacent to each other normally with the 48 and 96 inch with the bag with the compatible with the side to side with the unit load measuring 48 inches long with the 40-inch wide with a 54-inch high. See figure 615 and 16. Height of equal to the height of the load, a 12-inch maximum after inflation. Pneumatic dunge butt for the sheet with a filler panel, the 1-inch minimum above the car floor. Show the height of equal to the height of load, the 12-inch maximum, and after inflation, pneumatic dunge in the sheet with a filler panel with a 1-inch minimum above the car floor. For bag with the bale with the minimum of the 2 sheet with the 275 pounds of the wall with the fiber board buff with the material with the between each side with the dungeon lane with the bracing with the fiber board box good with a suitable buffer of the material with the between the dunge bag with the landing with a prevent deformation with the landing reusable dunge bag intended to use only with a filling crosswire with lateral voids must be prominently marked with the manufacturer indicating the proper application every use of the bags marked with the application filled lengthwise with the voids. Leave the door open with the car open and after loading of the complete with a check with the bag with the 30 minutes after the installation with the leak of the dunge bag but it does not eliminate the need of the doorway protection with the further information for the AR general information between the number 9 and the product with the performance profile with the pneumatic dunge. Go to the AR stand with the DPL, SPDF, PFDS, PPPD verification list for the most of the product with the performance profile with the pneumatic dunge product verification list, friction mats between freight with the rail car between the layer of the freight to increase the resistant lateral longitudinal movement of the freight with loading and application of the friction mats are the most commonly manufactured heave of the mascated rebounded rubber the thickness up to with 1/4 inch thickness friction mats are specified specific loading methods. Alright, 7. The gates and filler and separated with the divide with the material with the U with the fill lengthwise space with the cover with the occupied with the landing U with the generated with the landing with the designated with the coring with the type of the end gate, the divisional intermediate with the gates and center gate filler and divide with the gates filled with the dimensional gate with the screw with the position steel strap with the anchor with the not less than 3 feet with the face with the gate the 2x4 uprights 1 1/4 inch 1x4 inch horizontal sidewall posts. Reverse strap with the help with the plate with the rear of the face with the gate with the main strap with the head and then partially with the tension load drawn with the fast with the reverse strap with the card side with the wall with the anchor complete tension. Now screw with the dimensional gate with the car with the one U with the floating loading with the horizontal member with the dimensional gate with the position of opposite with the intersection between the layer with the container with the construction with the type of the gate solid feet with the required with the type of the container with the combined loaded. Use center gate with the take up with the space with the doorway with the prevent with the shift with the locking with the permit with the removal with the loading and large space with the left with the doorway area blocking bracing shown figure 72 with the center of the gateway into construction made depending on the load. Fillers square off the upboard of the walls before with the car with the 2 1/4 inch 2x4s over the 1.5 inch plywood equivalent and with the height equal or to greater than 1/4 inch 1x4 inch cross barrier with 2x4 wall fillers. Use fillers or face fill the space with not occupied with load. Close cell honeycomb panel with lengthwise filler with load with the constant with the multiple unit resilient loading with the shift of the box of food stuff with the tissue with the soft paper product with the fuser or appliance with the must not exceed with the maximum of 1,500 pounds foot squared crushed string. Space filled with the not exceed with the 8 inch in any one area. If the landing ridge with the nature with the native with the very den with the side of the block with the nuts and bolts with the machinery with the metal beam with the brick over the lumber with the cut paper lengthwise fillers must be combined with the cross string with the defined below. If the cushion cover with the lengthwise with the fillers must be cushion combined with the cross string with the equal with the weight of the load with the being string with the string with the draft gear with the cover with the lengthwise with the fillers must have with the combined with the cross string with the equal with the weight of the weight of the load being strained. So to secure the fillers in position, for example, the filler with located with the end of the chain of the draft gear with the car load with the 150,000 pound with the combined cross string with the fillers must be greater than 300,000 pounds with a 4x8 feet filler panel with the RU with the side combined with a 2x4 by 8 with the feet with a 64 foot squared with the required with a minimum crush strength that would be equal to 300,000 pounds divided by 64 or 4,687 and a half pounds squared. Figure 7.5 with example the village with the same load with the required with the minimum crush strength with a 2,344 pounds squared example and it showed with the entire load weight with the lengthwise filler end wall with a 3/4 inch load weight lengthwise for the midpoint with the end wall the half load weight lengthwise for the middle of the loading. Hard fillers may be reinforced special load application intermediate bulk containers. Area must be constructed with a minimum of the 9 cell linen board and location with a minimum compression strength with a 6,000 pound with a minimum approximate size block with a strength with a may be located with the illustrated. Show the example of the two types of filler with lengthwise space with a corrugated void filled with a filler lengthwise space with the area indicate the direction corrugation reusable polyurethane. Lengthwise filler materials must be tall enough to cover the full height with a void with the bottom of the void top with a smaller piece of the cold material with the U that must be laminated with a joint with a consistent with the front of the top of the bottom of the top of the void which are intended to protect. Contour above with their fillers designed with the help prevent the display for the pneumatic damage of the roller pads with the buffer pad with the plate for the each side with the void with the contour side with the pad with the face for the roll with the last side adjacent with the dungeon for the U for the buffer pad to leave with the tall with the dungeon for the minimum crush strength with the 4,500 pound squared required with the buffer pad with the buffer pads shown and then contour buffer pads. When cars are pallet slip sheet with a lid with the loading of the unit against the sidewall is applied with the lateral void. The filler with the voids between the unit road with the units may be loaded with the type against one side of the wall. Fillers applied with between the unit with the other side wall. Alternate with the opposite end. See figure 7-9, 7-10, and 7-11. Show the fillers and the placement of the filler with the unit load within clamping type left truck is U. Placement of the filler palletized U with the place of sidewall fillers along with the opposite sidewall and the other end of the car. The fillers placement of the fillers when the pallets are loaded against the sidewalls and placement of the fillers when pallets are centered. Show the collapsible honeycomb interlocking flangeable sheets, flangeable tubes interlocking with flangeable sheets, molded plastic reusable filler, hanging honeycomb filter, U for the filler crossway spaces. Separator sheet with the protect with the top of the unit stack, the separator sheet, and the protect with the bottom of the unit with the stack with the palletized separator. Polyethanol foam pads may be the separated landing metal coil with the pads with a typically 54 inch of the high with a 24 inch wide with a 3 1/4 inch thick of the center of the pad with a polyethanol pad with a have the density of 4 pound feet cubed type of the A with the U for the bottom of the coil with the contoured each of the 8 inch long by 3 1/4 inch diameter. Plastic tube leg with a capped off with a 1 inch rubber can type with an inch over the bottom of each of the elevated pad above the adjacent deck board with the tape B with the show between the coil with the end of the wall bulkhead with contoured one side only. Place flat side against the end of the bulkhead. Contoured on both sides with the U for the between type A and type B with the contour used only with the between the coils and the end of the bulkhead. Dividers separate the different type of the container with lengthwise the plywood sheet with equivalent material with position height with the protect with the tallest stack of the container C714. The separate the different side with the same type of the container with the divider sheet with the divider sheets and with the plywood divider sheet with the between the different landing type with the fiberboard divider sheets over the between the similar landing types. Construction quantity with the properly within the with the divider sheet with the very base of the menu of the factor with the density with the proper weight of the load found with the minimum stand with the divider sheet with the carriers of the have the cushioning device for the loading and restraint device. Shippers expect to cover cooperative with the carriers which is demonstrated with additional U for the divider sheet with the necessary to avoid excessive damage. Shipping the container with a sufficient height with the difference with the bag, some of the bale with the box, the load with the car. Do not have the cushion and loading device for the loading restraint the device and for the corrugated with the cell fiber board divider sheet with the difference with the occur with the load with the divider sheet with the may absorb some of the increase. This is what otherwise appear with the shipping container. U with the corrugated with the side fiber board divided sheet with approximately with the same width of the height of the load with the corrugated divider sheet. Using place the divider sheet with the corrugation are vertical. And show the place pallets for the net and the same with the horizontal plane with the length wise with the creating with the pallet to pilot improper pellets or same the horizontal plane with the ensure the pallet to pallet contact proper separate panels not in some horizontal plane or divider sheet with the divider sheet. Alright, for stress for half of the unit with the fiberboard, bar with the divider sheet with the between the doorway, stack with the unload with the divider sheet with the down, equip with the row, required load with the stretch wrap with the meat with the following criteria, weight limitation, floor layer with the unit with the Mustang seat with 35,000 pound double deck load with the next unit with 70,000 pound lengthwise with the void allowed with the unit with the pad with the exhibit, the pinwheel with the chimney stack with the units low, similar bonded blocks. Risers are even the raised article with the frame with the block frame with the adjacent with the stack with the brake with the shroud line with the low with the riser. Commonly even the raised with the roll with the paper load with the even the block and complete with the layer with the brake with the shroud line with the multiple layered loads of the rolls with the same width. The riser may even the strap of the bed design with the razor strip. Riser strips may be laminated corrugated fiberboard. Other suitable material with a minimum of 6 inches all with the wide by 5 inches with the weighted with the wide by 30 inches long with a 40-inch diameter roll with the large diameter required with the longer riser. The pad type of the braid with the made with the close cell honeycomb with the reinforced corner should also be with a minimum of 6 inches tall with the appropriate side with the fit under the roll with the protruding at any of the side of the seat table side of the one riser strip of the riser pad and then the show with the minimum riser strip of the pad side of this and Risers run up the combined strength with the greater than equal to twice the weight of the support, and then they give the example of 1 and 2, but they do not play for the riser between the roller lays any with the low of the riser, and should be played with only under the rolls of floor, or with the under roll of the doorway of the way with the nest for the dock play with the clearance of the riser, even the doorway of the area should not be more than 2 inches high. Place the riser only on the floor, never between the sack roll. Place strip of the riser, strip a riser with the longest dimension of length, while the card never extend the riser between the average of the roll. Laminated risers or simple meet with the minimum required cross strength, but do not strap or tape riser together. Only padded type of the risers glued together. The conservative landing type. Laminated riser with the glue together with the manufactured product should be provided with a glue and specification appropriate adhesive. And those multiple layers you for the risers play with beneath the rolls midway with the end of the car with the end of the doorway break with the layer of the straddle line with the help of the prevent with the roll override with the reduce for the engine for the damage opportunity the creep for the performance of the dungeon application. Alright. To the riser you for the brake straddle line. Load securing 8. Floor blocking. Floor breaking is not recommended lengthwise. Load securing over the blocks over the steel floors. Carried rails maybe even to prevent crosswise movement of loading, landing and loading with a single layer of the position utilized with preventing lateral movement. Shows cross beam with the guardrail. With the guardrails may even to be nailed with the car floor held in position. Cross nail with the end the guardrails. Anchor loads. Anchor load provided with a rigid brace for the landing with the U with the strap with the screw with the car side with a permanent anchor. It's anchored with at least 3 feet from the face of the load with the landing. Contact with the anchors. Cover the anchor plane with a fiberboard so with the thickness of the heavy paper. The tray with the cover with the steel strap with the preparation and loading with the steel strap. Held temporarily in position. Given with the steel sidewall with the tape with the figure 8-2 with the strap secured with the car wide side wall tape with the fastened outside car while loading. When 2 or more strap the U with the tension of the steel strap is simultaneously equal with the tension on all the strap. Provide a corner edge protection to prevent the damage to landing due to the pressure for the strap. The U with the strap hanger with the tape of the other men with the prevent the strap with the slipping and dropping out of the position while in the transit. Figure 8-3 show with the completed anchor load with the application for the steel strap at the gate with the truss block construction. Straps the guide with the skirt while anchors strip is not less than 3 feet from the face of the gate. The staple strip is with the gate, the tension steel with the truss with the blocks applied with the gate with the heavy loads. Web strap with applied with attached with the sidewall, anchor with the maybe with the skirt with the landing, the end with the cover with the combined minimum braking strength with the number of the traps, U with the equal to the greater than weight with the landing with the restraint with the landing and the height of the base ratio with the greater than 2. Apply half of the strap with the upper 1/3 of the landing as shown in ratchet for the tension strength with that strap with the incomplete layer bracing. Avoid incomplete layers and ship it whenever possible. However, the incomplete layers have to be low for the particular loading and the lengthwise movement shown in figure 8-5 when the method using the method is secured with the bottom of the layers rigid position. Incomplete layer bracing and rigid spacing. Prevent possible contact damage between lower lading of the incomplete layer. Evaluate the landing immediately front side of the incomplete layer over the rise and secure with the strapped anchor for the car side walls for the shown figure 8-6. Risers at 6-inch minimum height strap secure with the car side walls. 9. Doorway protection. Rule 7. The AAR circulated number 42K state with the following: whether the possibility of loading of the following with the rolling out of the doorway coming into contact with the sliding of the plug type side door with the opening. Things must be protected with wood doorway protection, steel with strap with the other materials. Vision strip with the number of the adequate screw with the cars equipped with the plug type board loaded with the cylindrical items started with the rolls or paper that required with the doorway protection unless specifically exempted by applicable commodity rules. Wood doorway protection may be applied with a single layer loads figure 8-1. Minimum 4x4 load over the 2 laminated pieces with the cut length of the slightly longer than the door width of the blaze, width of the wedge in place, which is figure 9-1 wood doorway protection single layer load. Use steel strap with the doorway protection height of freight with a 1 inch of the 29,000-inch steel strap with a equivalent figure 9-2 with 1 steel strap, the opposite of each of the layer attached with a permanent sidewall anchor with a U with a sheet. Fiberboard plays the overstrap of the anchors needs to protect with the landing, and it showed with the fiberboard steel with a 1 1/4 inch by 29 thousandths of an inch steel strap with their equivalent. The non-metallic strap at the end of the table, the 9-1, have been tested for the found acceptable use over the substitute 1 1/4 inch for the 29,000-inch steel strap with the doorway protection apps. For the company side of the strap, the designation application substitution rate. Note the application for the non-metallic strap, the substitute 1 1/4 inch for the 29,000-inch steel strap with restricted the maximum the door opening with a 10 foot width. Install strap with the cuff of the door opening between the door post shown figure 9-3 with the proper note with the strap with the uniform tension and all the straps share with the equally load. Strap with end tension share with the conventional strap application, strap with the end tensions and bell type strap application. Straps must be in tension with the correct tensioning tool with the corners of the manufacturer. Instruct then put with the buckle, the ply with the maintain with the strap. Within the strap must be clearly marked with the strap ID. Corners with the strap marked with the requirement of the AR Circular 42K. The general rules covering the loading of this cover or load shipments of the commodity with a closed car with other revisions thereof. Key roll, strap with the figure 9.4 and 9.5 with the method of the protecting door with roll for the camera and plug tab with the restricting lengthwise movement of the roll papers. Shaded areas indicate roll that have key band with the strap holders. Key band joints do roll with the opposite end of the side of the car pulled together with the tension of the strap that locks the load takes up lengthwise space. And then show the figure 8 key band doorway protection. Key band joint 2 rolls opposite side of the car with the figure 8 pattern. Refer to specific loading material with the proper application instructions. For plywood, similar panel product with a single sliding plug door with the type 1A grade with a 4 non-metallic utilizing strap with the ground with a lengthwise with a tack with the doorway figure 9.6. 1A grade 4 non-metallic utilizing straps. Are your closed car loading standards with a part subtitle publication date informally. And this has been a reading of your Association American Car Closed Car Loading Guide Part 1 Minimum Loading Standard with the Freight Car General Purpose Box Car.